this is Amy Allen from the Dead Files, and you're listening to the Alternate Route Podcast.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, ponderers of the paranormal. This is the Paranomally Zone, your place for all things paranormal, unexplained, odd, and mysterious, and of course, all the good times in between. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, once again, by my co-host with the ghosts. Let's see, the frothy Mike Carbonell.
Frothy.
I don't know.
The only thing frothy I got going on right now is my beer.
There you go. Yeah. So, well, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. I don't know why
My throat and sinuses are a little frothy.
I guess,
also.
yeah, maybe that's why I thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike is sacrificing his well-being tonight for our listeners. He is not feeling the greatest. So
I've been
but
on
he's
vacation
here
for 2 weeks.
Yes, you
and
have.
like half of it, at least, has been. Well, when did we do Vergus? The Vergus trails. I mean, I was starting to feel
That was a week ago.
You could hear it in my voice then, and then I don't know.
Hey, but you're soldiering through, man. You're a trooper. You are dedicated to your craft of podcasting excellence, and here we are.
I'm working on my second 25 ounces of medicine, and after that, I've got a bunch of 16-ounce.
Well, we better fly through this episode then, because you never know what Mike's going to sound like by the time this one is over.
Oh no, I've been taking it pretty easy on the beer during the episodes lately.
Yes, you have. Yeah. You've been a good boy. Boy, Mike. So
yeah.
But yeah, this is obviously the Paranomally Zone. We thank you all for tuning in to help spread the word. Formerly the Alternate Route Podcast, now the Paranomally Zone. Tell your friends to resubscribe to the new feeds everywhere that they listen to their favorite podcasts. We are there. Unless you are listening to Google, because apparently that has still not updated yet. So if you are listening to Google, you will not hear this right now until sometime in the future.
Right.
Google Podcasts, that is. So if you have a friend who uses Google Podcasts and they say, hey, where did my podcast go? My favorite podcast, then you can tell them. But I've been working on it. I've been in contact with people. Oh man, Mike, it's changing names is frustrating, my friend.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's worth it. We needed to do it. We needed to update it. So here
I'm staying in the background of that because I don't know. I will share the whole things that on the twit and everything that explain those things. So, but yeah, it's all good. I asked my wonderful brother Steve today, what do you thought of the new name and the name change? Because I think we should have a little bit of feedback about that. And he really likes it.
Okay, good.
He thinks it'll be very good. And I think that's going to be the consensus between, over.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much overall.
I certainly hope so. And again, I'm repeating myself, but I think the name really encompasses what the podcast is about, more so than the Alternate Route podcast name.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely, that we're talking about all things paranormal when you see the name. Whereas the Alternate Route, you're like, that could be any number of things. So wanted to narrow it down. I do want to clarify something I said last night, Mike. No, that's okay. It's okay. I did want to clarify. Well, not clarify. I wanted to reply to a tweet I sent out last night about, promoting tonight's show and the activities of the day. And I said I was going to go do a cool EVP session, Mike, at a interesting locale. And
one of my favorite locales, the whole park.
The Itasca Park burial mounds.
Itasca
Mike,
State Park.
Now listen to this, and I'll say this as briefly as I can. I packed up a lot sooner than I intended to because the weather here, quite frankly, got
cold,
really shitty. No, we got nailed with snow, and
we did too, and it's still blowing right now. It's windy ass cold,
and so I took off, and
it's nipply cold.
It's like it is nipply cold. It's about a 40-minute drive from my house to Itasca Park, and drove through some pretty crappy weather. Got there, and I was excited. I was ready to go. Then I started seeing all these giant orange signs that said "Hunting in Progress."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess I'll
kind of like our fear at the Vergus Trails.
Kind of, man. And then driving along the road, searching for said burial mounds, I saw a orange-clad hunter carrying his rifle in his hand on the road. I was like, okay, yeah, hopefully that won't be an issue. But then finally the last straw, Mike, was multiple park rangers driving up and down the road. And
I'm sure.
I quite frankly kind of, I don't want to say chickened out, but I got concerned that they were looking for unnecessary people like me to not be in the area at that time. I could be wrong.
I think so.
And then I also argued for myself to just head on back home because it was snowing so hard, and I was like, man, is this going to really kind of damage, not necessarily damage some of the equipment, but like the digital recorder, for example, is so sensitive, it would be picking up every flipping snowflake that landed on top of it.
Right.
If I was trying to film ourselves, which I was planning on doing, it'd be covered with snowflakes on the screen. And long story short, I didn't get around to do it, so I apologize.
I don't blame you.
I apologize for that, everybody.
I mean, if it was as cold there as it was here, as it is here, it's ass cold.
It is ass cold. It's nipply ass cold. Yeah. So if asses had nipples, then you know how cold it is. So
yeah. And I'm not ready for this yet. Usually I like to keep concentrating on no snow before my birthday, and that a lot of times that works.
It does. Well, yeah, lately in the last couple decades, it hasn't been nearly as snowy as it was back in the day, Mike.
But my birthday's coming up.
It is.
Mike's got snow.
Mike is nervous about his next birthday after this birthday. I know.
I don't like my next birthday after this one. I'm out of my 50s, and I don't like that.
I know. I got it. I totally understand.
Blessed America.
And then we talked about this before we started recording, and I tried to soothe Mike's worries by saying, you know what, Mick Jagger is 79 years old and still out there on stage shaking his skinny little ass up there. So Mike can do a podcast for as long as he wants. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's true. Podcast is the easiest part.
Yeah, that's true.
My job sucks. I mean, no, I love my job, but
that's a whole nother
doing it
shebang.
I've been on this 2 weeks that I've been off. The pain is it's still there, but it's not as intense. So what I've been finding out is that yes, my job does very negatively affect my back and my pain and my well-being,
unfortunately,
which really bothers me. But anyway.
No, I understand, Mike. I understand. That's why we are going to turn the Paranomally Zone into an ultra successful business where we can both quit our jobs and just focus entirely on this awesome podcast, right?
Bullshit.
Hey.
Yes, but let's be positive about that. But hey, it's not always just a money thing.
Of course,
it never started as a money thing.
It didn't. It did not.
It just could be an added bonus, but there are non-monetary reasons that we do all this.
Yeah, it's called passion for the paranormal, my friend. Yes. And passion for just getting together, and it's good to see you and talk to you every week and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
And we talk all things, as we said, unexplained, odd, and mysterious.
Absolutely. The passion of partaking, or no, it's not partaking. It's what word could I use?
I don't know.
Imparting all of this to the listeners that we love so much.
There you go. Absolutely.
I mean, every one of the listeners that we have, they are a passion.
Well, at the risk of sound, absolutely, at the risk of sounding cheesy, man, it's worth it just because I feel like we've gained so many friends who are sitting there at home listening to us right now, Mike. Yep. So it's like,
there are people that actually enjoy listening to this.
Yeah.
And how can we not appreciate that?
Absolutely. 100%. So, Mike, let's dive into it here a little bit.
Yeah.
America's first, well, it is widely believed to be America's first documented haunting. Okay, we're going to talk about the Nelly Butler hauntings. I want to ask you right off the bat how familiar you were with this, if at all, before we had decided on this topic to discuss.
I really was not.
Really? See, I'm stunned that you weren't aware of that.
Yeah. And then being it's in Machiasport, Maine, and my old your
stomping grounds. Yeah.
Oh, I love Maine so much, and to hear a good story like this from such a beautiful place, it's awesome. Yeah, but what I was thinking, 1799 to 1800 is when a lot of this was going on. That's not a whole lot of time.
No. And can I correct you though, Mike, as well?
Yes,
go
ahead.
No, I'm not doing this to embarrass you and stuff, but that is one thing I learned is that the Machiasport is actually incorrect as to where this took place. Apparently this is like a legend that has grown for however long, but it's a we'll get to that in a second as to where this actually took place. But it's Sullivan, Maine, I believe. I'm thinking of Sullivan, Maine. That might be right, but it's a fascinating story, Mike, because it here's that word again, encompasses so many aspects that of the paranormal that just grab you. Yeah, it has the emotional context, it has the creep factor, and it has just the fact that it has multiple eyewitness testimonies to this. Yes, it's back in 1799/1800. But people still saw something. People still experienced something. Multiple people. We're talking like over 30 people, if not more.
Right.
And the fact that there's
clarity
stories
that the spirit came through with.
The clarity
is amazing.
The similarity in the stories, it's stuff that you can't just put aside and just say, that's fake right away. It's like, no, there's something to it. I mean, yeah, we get it. Eyewitness testimony, it's like it's not reliable in court. I get that, but there's still something to eyewitness testimonies.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
and especially
you can't deny
the more eyewitnesses you get, the more legit that it becomes.
All right. In the winter of 1799 is when this began, Mike, in the coastal town of Sullivan, Maine. Yeah, I was right. Sullivan, Maine.
Right.
I'm always happy when I
kind of like
remember things correctly.
Machiasport. It was like a distance from.
Yeah. It was a good jaunt, a good drive, or a good walk, whatever you want to say. But as we have mentioned already, the first documented haunting in the United States, and it was during this time where numerous residents of the town claimed that they saw and heard the ghost of one Nelly Butler, a young woman who had died 3 years earlier. So that's fascinating already, right there. Multiple people claim to have seen the same. Same
and we've
ghost.
Never heard the backstory on what happened to her, why she died, or how she died.
That's very interesting. That's a good point. And why 3 years after she died would this all happen? I mean, if this was a big conspiracy that everyone was getting together and say, "Hey, let's start this story." Remember that our neighbor 3 years ago passed away? 3 years after the fact, let's all get together and start saying we saw her ghost and we heard her ghost. That's another topic altogether right there. But this was a phenomenon, Mike. It was a legit phenomenon, and it was recorded by a traveling preacher. His name was Abraham Cummings.
Abraham Cummings,
and he believed that the spirit of Nelly was actually sent from heaven, an apparition that was sent from heaven. So I'm not exactly sure what he means by that, but he was intrigued. He was sent there, and he went on to record 31 separate eyewitness testimonies that he eventually collected and turned into a book. Now, listen to the title of this book.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Brevity is something that this guy definitely was not familiar with. And I read, this is the title.
Take a deep breath.
Immortality proved by the testimony of sense, in which is considered the doctrine of specters and the existence of a particular specter. That's the title of the book. It's like, dude, cut it down just a wee little bit. We get what you're trying to say, but
somebody should have told him, okay, now I'm going to give you some constructive criticism. Just call it Nelly the Ghost.
There you go. Nelly
and
the
then
Ghost.
Be done with it.
Yep.
This other crap is just, people aren't going to want to read it.
No. And we're not talking about Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie. Nope. Another, that's a whole other story all itself right there. This is a quote from one particular eyewitness. Her name was Mary Gordon. She was a resident of Sullivan at the time. And her quote starts as such. At first, the apparition was a mere mass of light, then grew into personal form about as tall as myself. Again, that is just so intriguing, Mike. Our prior episode, we talked about like orbs and ecto mist, any number of, I hate to use the word faint, lesser signs of paranormal activity. We talked about the possibility of them. Let's just throw out orbs, for example. The orbs being the very beginning of an energy trying to, well, how else can I say
manifest?
To manifest. There you go. Yeah, to a full-fledged apparition.
Right.
And that's something that you totally buy into, right, Mike?
Oh, absolutely.
And I get it too. And so this is fascinating that it starts as a mere mass of light and then grew into this form that, over 30 some residents claim to have seen of this Nelly Butler.
But she also describes it as going through an entire transformation from that personal form, where she explains that the glow from the apparition had a constant tremulous motion, like it was like undulating, or however you want to, I don't know what word to put with that, but and then it became a shapeless form, expanding from everywhere before it vanished and disappeared. So it went through the entire beginning as a mass of light, to the shape of a being, and then fading out.
Then it just disappeared.
Very interesting.
That's a lot of energy that's being utilized there.
It's a lot of energy, and plus I think it gives it some legitimacy where, this person, this lady or whatever, back then at that time, she sounds like she's describing something that she's actually seeing. Where is she going to come up with this stuff back then to make up a story where this mass of light goes through this transition into a being and then fades away? I mean, it just doesn't seem like back then something would be described as that unless they were actually seeing it.
I get what you're saying. That's a great point, Mike. It's either she's being legit, or Mary Gordon is legit, or she has the most wonderful imagination.
Right. Especially since, it's the first documented ghost experience.
Yeah,
or
widely believed to be
like
the first documented.
Did like a group of people get together before putting this story out, like, okay, this is what we're going to have to do. This is what we're going to have to talk about. This is the way we're going to have to explain this looks like. No, it's just too spot on as it goes along. They're explaining it as it happens. That's what that's the feeling that I get.
And another thing, we've talked about this in so many episodes, when we were the Alternate Route podcast, Mike, but what did they have to gain by creating this? We're talking, back in 1799, 1800, and this book was published 25 years after the fact.
Right.
That was still, or 26 years. I find it hard to grasp the point of conjuring up a lie about a ghost.
For what gain? There's nothing.
There's
no money gain. Well, there is that long-winded titled book, but
that's what I'm saying. But they didn't get anything from that.
Nothing. There's nothing to gain from it, except for telling a story of something that they experienced, something they lived through.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the part that's always hard for me. I try to put myself in their position, and I it's hard for me to fathom just making up bullshit, just to make up bullshit.
Especially at that time where it would have been.
Yeah, there wasn't Twitter back then, boys and girls.
Yeah, there was no Twitter, there was no social media, there was nothing that they could do to expand this over the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And make a big hit out of this story.
No, this was very localized.
Very localized, very, at that time they were probably having a hard time figuring out who all they could go and share this with, because it's so extreme and unbelievable. But they need to share this story. But all it is local, and then there was some, like the book, and then there was probably some newspaper articles that came out and things like that. But, it's too big of a thing to make for such a small localized area.
Yeah. For such a small gain. I mean, really.
Right. For no gain, more likely people are going to think, what you're crazy. What do you, you're daft.
Hey, great. Good use of the word daft, Mike. Good use of the word. Now, according to English professor Marcus Labrizzi, English professor at University of Maine in Machias, he actually studies Maine ghost stories, but this is a quote from Mr. Marcus Labrizzi. He says, "So many people saw the same thing and reported the same story. We're left with a case in which you've got multiple witnesses, a really convincing ghost, but then this controversy that hasn't gone away for more than 2 centuries." And that's another intriguing part, Mike, is that...
What? You have never,
I've never
ever screwed up my name before.
I know.
Mary Patrick just called me Mark. Holy Jesus.
Well, I do have my oldest brother is named Mark. So
I'm not your older brother.
No, you're not.
Anyway, I forgive you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Just don't call me Paul now or something,
or Pat.
Patty. Yeah. Arg. But that part is intriguing as well, Mike, is the fact that this hasn't been put to bed. I'm doing that in air quotes.
Right.
This hasn't been tossed out the window as a complete fraud / hoax.
After so long.
After 2 centuries of study, breaking it down, dissecting it, it's still, they can't dismiss it. It's
right. Exactly.
That adds a little bit to it. To me, it does. At least
it does.
Here we go. This is the part of the article I want to clarify, and I'm not being rude, Mike, as to correcting you when you said that earlier, but about where this took place. But many ghost stories, I'm reading this now. Many ghost story books have falsely placed this legendary haunting in Machias Port, about 15 miles off the coast from Sullivan. This misconception stems from the mistake of a researcher in the 1940s, this Professor Labrizzi said, and has been perpetuated by authors and websites ever since. So it's good that we clarified that. So
right, exactly, yeah.
So again, I wasn't being rude, Mike.
Absolutely not.
Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Now, in an effort to bring this ghost story back to life, Labrizzi, along with Dennis Boyd, tracked down an actual rare 1826 copy of the book. I'm not going to repeat the title that Abraham Cummings wrote about
Nelly the
hauntings.
Ghost.
Nelly the Ghost. There you go. I like that one. And with the help of a local historian, they researched the family histories and found gravestones of people named in the testimonies. Now, one of their most intriguing finds, Mike, was a gravestone of a Mr. Captain George Butler. And guess who he was? He was the widower.
Was the husband of...
The widower, exactly, of one Eleanor Nelly Butler. Now, Labrizzi and Boyd went on to compile their research and they put together in their own book, 2010 book, The Nelly Butler Hauntings, a documentary history. I suggest everyone go check that out. Backtracking now, Mike. Let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? You need need to take a deep breath?
I'm already there.
Okay. The story begins back in Blaisdell, in the Blaisdell house near the rocky shore of Taunton Bay. And we're not talking Tauntauns from Empire Strikes Back. Everyone calm down, even though I am a giant
I wonder who
Wars fan.
came up with that for the Star Wars movie, Tauntaun.
That's great. I don't know. I really do not know.
It just doesn't make sense. It's kind of a stupid name.
George. Hey, come on now, George.
Look at that Tauntaun.
Well, one example, Mike, that I think of all the time.
Patrick going
yes,
on
because
Star Wars rant.
George quite literally. I'm talking about Mr. Lucas. He would quite literally just he'd look at any random stuff and say, "Hey, that's a good name." I mean, there is no documented proof of this, but I firmly believe that the character Bib Fortuna, who was like Jabba the Hutt's right-hand man in Return of the Jedi, and he actually got murdered by one Boba Fett in the upcoming Book of Boba Fett series. I cannot wait for in Disney Plus. Anyhoozle, I can totally picture George Lucas around this time. His children were very young, probably needed bibs placed around them. Perhaps they enjoyed eating little tuna-flavored dishes or tuna itself. Maybe the child made a mess, and maybe George says, "Oh, do you need a bib for tuna? Do you need a bib for your tuna?" There you go. Name, Bib Fortuna. Anyways, moving on.
Okay, now let me expound on that. I know this is off subject, but did I see this in a movie about this, or did I
don't know.
I read this, or do I just know it?
Just
when Frank L. Baum was touting and peddling his book, The Wizard of Oz, where he didn't have a title for it yet. And he was in an office of the I don't know who it was or what publisher, whatever, but he asked Frank L. Baum, "Well, do you have a title for this?" And he didn't at this point. And he looked around, and there was like a card catalog, the shelves like in an old library, where you'd have like A through whatever, in each drawer, it'd go through the alphabet. And the one drawer that he focused on was O through Z.
Oh, no kidding.
And he saw that, and he goes, "Oh, yes, it's the land of Oz, the Wizard of Oz."
I would not be shocked, my friend.
And that's how he came up with the name Oz.
Very good. I buy it.
Possibly. Did I make it up? Possibly. But no, I think Google it. Look it up.
That's great. Did I make it up? Possibly. Very good.
No, I actually do remember that from somewhere.
Oh, I believe you. And I believe that you don't recall where you heard it.
So anyway, back on track.
Yeah, as I said, the story begins back in the Blaisdell house near the rocky shore of Taunton Bay. It was in the cellar of that particular house where this ghost first started to appear and most often took shape and, listen to this, spoke, according to all testimonies.
Intelligently spoke,
responded, answered questions.
It's like an everyday conversation with a living being.
Claiming to be the spirit of Nelly Butler. The ghost sought to orchestrate the marriage of Nelly Butler's former husband, 29-year-old George Butler, to a Lydia Blaisdell, who was 15 years old at the time. Testimonies by members of the Blaisdell and Butler families, as well as Nelly's family, the Hoopers, state the spirit was relentless, visiting multiple times and answering personal questions to prove its identity. I would like to know what those personal questions were. Absolutely. And
originally, what Nelly had said from the cellar, the voice of her was heard coming from the cellar saying, "I am the dead wife of Captain George Butler, born Nelly Hooper.
There you
that's
go.
In quotes.
Right there. Wow.
That's in quotes of what she said, and she identified herself as and introduced herself to these people that specifically.
That's fascinating, man. In 1800, May 28th of 1800, Lydia and George were married on Butler Point. We're talking about George Butler and Lydia Blaisdell.
Right.
29-year-old married to a 15-year-old. Yeah, there you go.
Sick.
The next day, the ghost appeared and prophesied that Lydia would bear one child and then unfortunately die. This prophecy, this is crazy, Mike, which came to fruition 10 months later, actually echoed the same fate of Nelly herself, who died of childbirth when she was 22 years old.
That's what I was wondering about, the backstory of what happened to her.
Now, how sad is that? Now, if this is all legit and she died while giving birth, I mean, that's a very negative, sad way to pass. You can imagine the energy being embedded where she passed and struggling to move on because it's not, I don't know, I don't want to say satisfied. It's not a happy way to transition by any means.
Oh, absolutely not. It's
So is the energy, the energy / spirit hanging around to forewarn others of their same fate out of, as you may have said, Mike, earlier, out of a benign nature, out of a innocent and, gosh, I'm struggling to think of the term other than, I mean, was it something that she was doing in a positive way to try and prevent more tragedies?
Right. Well, I did actually see and read where.
Did I sound like an idiot right there?
No, not at all. You're trying to come across with something that you're just falling very short of.
I know. I couldn't pull the word.
No,
I couldn't pull the word. Yeah.
There is a part of it that I did see that, talking about benign and friendly. Somebody had asked her, why does she appear and talk from the cellar, from the basement? And she answered specifically, stays down there to not frighten the children anymore. There's so much, consideration and intelligence going on with this haunting, and, to be doing that, to not scare anybody, but benevolent, to actually be able to articulate.
I'm thinking of benevolent.
Tell somebody.
Damn it, there we go.
What's that? You're thinking of what?
I'm thinking of benevolent. I couldn't pull the damn word.
Very benevolent. Yeah. Benign, benevolent. Yeah.
Sorry about that, Mike. I didn't mean to speak over you so rudely.
Oh, no.
But I did.
No, that's what we do.
Now, it's interesting, though, we're talking about this, potentially benevolent / benign nature of this energy, this spirit, because on the other hand, some people think, and it has been alleged, that this spirit was actually malevolent / evil / had very not so good intentions, and dare I say demonic. Mike, I know Mike, that's one of his favorite topics is demons and demonic anything of demonic nature.
I haven't reached any of this in my research with this, so I am looking very forward to hearing about what the malevolent part of this is, because as far as I know, it was all very friendly and happy and, kumbaya bullshit.
Kumbaya bullshit. There you go.
Yeah.
You can tell Mike has a cold because he's like, fucking kumbaya bullshit. There goes the X for the explicit on this episode. I dropped the F-bomb. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
That used to be Bridget's job. She was really good at dropping
shit. Well, 2 minutes into the episode.
Yeah, and we'd all be trading belches and all that good stuff too. So we've grown a little bit.
A lot. Anyway, go ahead.
Some in the town, Mike, saw the prophecy as a sinister curse. Okay, Because of this and the meddling nature of the ghost, many suspected the apparition not to be Nelly Butler, but a demonic spirit because of its meddling nature. I mean, it's like, well, demonic and meddling, no, that doesn't really go. That sounds almost like more poltergeist type thing or something, or just
and
like
they also thought that because they could smell sewage and hear very large farting noises. Okay. So of course they associate that with demonic.
Where was the bog of eternal stench located? Was that back in Maine? I don't know where it was. Others thought the haunting to be a hoax. I mean, no surprise there, and accused the Blaisdell family of tricking George Butler into marriage. And this is a quote from Professor Labrizzi. He says, there was so much controversy. Lydia was basically labeled as a witch/fraud. The family was ostracized. It was being pulled apart. And then the ghost suddenly comes back as this phantasmal creature of the Lord, singing hallelujahs and chasing down skeptics. Interesting. Very interesting. To continue, later on that year, in August, it's... sorry, I lost my page. I am trying to fly through this right now. I don't want to read it verbatim, but we're running short on time because hopefully it hopefully it was seamless to our listeners, but we did record we did record about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then everything stopped. We lost
12 minutes.
At 12 minutes. It was, and so we're kind of redoing this, so I want to fly through it as fast as I can. Large groups of people in the August of that year, Mike, large groups of people gathered in the Blaisdell cellar to listen to the ghost speak on religious topics. That's what I wanted to get to.
Really?
That part is utterly fascinating to me. We had
you need to find the Jesus. That's what Nelly's message from the cellar.
Yeah, Mike is not feeling good. I can tell. That's what we spent a good deal of time talking about this, Mike, because it is so it blows me away to think about this being a possible.
This is reality. Unlike any other ghost story, ghost movie, ghost, anything. With the energy and the conversation that goes on, you don't hear about stuff like this. So this is very unique and very fascinating.
And this is something that even you, Mike, as longtime listeners of the Alternate Route podcast know, dingy ding 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 ding. Mike is somebody who's he's led a paranormal life, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But even you, Mike, with your
I have never heard this story.
Your crazy paranormal experiences, though, you haven't had like an audible/vocal conversation back and forth. Where an intelligent spirit was responding to you, replying to you, interacting with you, and multiple people claim that this happened at this cellar.
I've never had a back and forth, but I've had, the voices to me, like standing there by myself in the bedroom of that very haunted house and hearing whispering in my ear, like something was trying to give me a message, whispering in my ear, but I couldn't make out what the words were. That was fascinating.
I'm so jealous. But again, multiple people, large groups of people, Mike, are gathered at this cellar of the house to listen to this ghost speak on religious topics. And listen to this. The apparition openly confronted those who doubted its, I hate saying the word its again, identity and holiness. The last time the ghost was reported in Sullivan was in that same month of August, when it followed a procession of 48 people from the Blaisdell house, 48 now, from the Blaisdell house to a neighbor's house about a half a mile away, according to Reverend Cummings. Its agenda was to confront a skeptic and show it was capable of appearing outside the Blaisdell home. At the end
the amazing Randy was there.
There you go.
Standing in the crowd.
God damn it, you threw me off track there. Yeah. Now, at the end of this vigil, Mike, the ghost of Nelly, maybe Nelly, appeared before the crowd in a field, then vanished from the town for good. And that is essentially the end of the Nelly Butler Hauntings legend. Listen, but just think about that, Mike. Speaking to groups of people about religious topics, confronting non-believers and saying, if you don't believe me, I will manifest, I will show myself in any number of ways. That, even though it's obviously being seen already, but it's like, I will show myself down the road. What did it say? Half a mile they walked behind 48 people? Yeah, half a mile away to another house and said, I'm going to, I will be able to appear outside the house of this Blaisdell home to this skeptic. Lo and behold, it did outside in the field. Supposedly it did. I don't know what else to say about that, Mike, other than I'll ask you a question. Do you believe it?
Okay.
Do you believe it?
I do. I not 100%, but I do have a high percentage of belief in this. There's just, I don't know. It just seems like I was saying before. There's so much going on with this.
Talk a little bit. Can you pull your microphone a little bit closer to you, buddy?
There is so much going on with this.
There you go. Thank you.
At a time where they couldn't have thought of what gain they could get from this. I mean, they're just telling an experience that they're having as it's happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the feeling that I get. Mm-hmm. There's no, I just can't imagine a group of people sitting there in this house like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to make people believe. And this is a story we're going to tell. We all got to stay on the same page. That just doesn't fit here.
Yeah. What did they gain from that if that's what their agenda was?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds pretty legit to me. And I mean, and also you got to think of too that, the thoughts and the facts over a period of this many decades, couple of centuries, I mean, they distort and they change over time. Sure, so who knows what is actually original from that time when this originally happened, and how much was added, how much was taken away.
Well, we are kind of
was twisted.
We are going by the book, though. We are going by the book.
That is very true.
Reverend Cummings'
never mind
accounts.
what I just said, because we're going by something that was written.
Well, no.
At the time,
your argument is legit too, Mike. Because as far as the legend goes, I mean, just hearsay could grow and expand, and that it keeps the interest there. I mean, this story could have faded into nothingness if not for
absolutely.
If not for people talking about it. So
but it was big enough to keep talking about and keep alive over these many decades.
Yeah. And forgive us, listeners, if we did speak of this before. Again, like we mentioned, we had a collapse for whatever reason. But we did mention, if it was recorded or not, kind of the biblical similarities. Mike brought this up, about the sightings of the Virgin Mary, because I questioned Mike, is like, can you think of any other like mass paranormal sightings like this?
Well, and I'm trying to come up with it was, the Virgin Mary that had appeared to the three sisters, that young girls that, it was in Lourdes, France, the Fatima prophecy, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And there were so many people that gathered to see this vision of the Virgin Mary that they supposedly did see, and there was a lot of other things that went with it, and a fantastic movie made out of it. Yeah, definitely. It's a very well-known story. If you don't look up the Fatima prophecies, when the Virgin Mary appeared, she had given some prophecy of things that were going to happen in the world and things like that, and they came true. But the last prophecy that she came up with, it was kept secret, and to this day it's kept secret. And only the Pope knows what that last prophecy was.
That's fascinating. Even I am not familiar with that, Mike. That's
you need to look it up, and which would be a pretty good subject for an episode, actually.
And the only reason I said even I is because I was raised Catholic, and I've forgotten everything essentially. But not everything. It's embedded in me, and more ways than one, and that sounded very sick right there. You know what I mean? Mike's looking away. He's ignoring my sick joke.
No, I am not.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Final thoughts on this, Mike, before we move on, before we do our time traveling excursion and come back for our one last take. Our one last take tonight is going to be it's a new segment for the Paranomally Zone.
It is.
Last episode we did we talked about the Travis Walton UFO/alien abduction experience, and we'd had our one last take on that. Tonight's one last take, we're talking alien autopsy.
Have you gotten a hold of Travis Walton yet, by the way?
I have messaged him. I have not heard back. So,
okay.
Hey, thank you for saying that, though, Mike, because we do have 2 awesome interviews lined up in the near future. This coming Thursday,
yes, we do.
We've mentioned this one before. Dustin Perry, the awesome Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters, is going to be on our show for the 4th time, but the first time on Paranomaly Zone, and it's going to be a Patreon video exclusive. We will release the audio interview on the regular podcast feed, but if you want to look at Dustin's luxurious hair and his growing muscles, you will want to subscribe to our Patreon page and watch our video exclusive interview with Mr. Dustin Perry. And coming up in January, Mike, January 13th, it is booked. It's etched in stone. Talking to Mr. Ron Moorhead.
I am very pumped about this, and I thank you so much, Patrick.
Oh, why are you thanking me?
Well, for getting this lined up.
Oh, okay, I got you. Sure. Yeah, again, Ron has been a guest on the Alternate Route podcast twice before. Actually, he goes back to the Nonsensicast days.
Absolutely.
And he is so cool, Mike, and so gracious. He actually says to me in the email exchange, he's like, just let me know if there's anything I can get for you guys and stuff. And this is like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Does he have a book that he can sign and send us?
Well, yeah, exactly.
I love getting books, autographed books from our guests. We have a few.
And Ron has, if there's anybody who has some awesome Sasquatch/Bigfoot experiences to tell and share, it is Mr. Ron Moorhead. Woo, yeah. I can't wait. I'm excited for you.
Besides the Patterson debacle.
No, not debacle.
Well, you know what I mean. But Ron Moorhead is, talking about interaction and absolutely fabulous. And he has a voice for radio.
Oh my gosh, his voice. Yeah. Tell me about it. Wow.
Oh man.
And and I don't know if you heard me, Mike, but I said, I am happy for you because I know that you were super excited to talk with Ron, and I can't wait.
I did not get to before.
Yes. So,
yes, very excited.
Those are just 2 examples. So many more awesome guests they're being lined up, everybody. So
and Dustin Perry, I just want to go back to that for a second. He was so awesome on the Ghost Hunters episodes that he was on. But, you kind of see him. It's like, oh, he'd go by a mirror in a haunted mansion and he'd have to stop and fix his hair.
Yes, he did.
But, he may have come across as somebody that was very self-absorbed and things like that during those episodes.
Yeah.
But this guy is pure 100% genuine. Awesome.
Genuine positivity.
He's real. He's positive. He's got, the stuff that he does, his motivational speaking that he does. And it's, the guy is just absolutely fabulous and well worth having as a reoccurring guest on this podcast.
Yep. You can't help but feel better about yourself after talking with Dustin.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The guy is phenomenal.
A pure positive energy. So we can't wait for that. That's just a few days away, Mike. So we're looking forward to it. So, hey, if you're listening to this right now, go check out our Patreon page. We'd love to see you there. As little as $1 a month, you can have access to all of our exclusive episodes. If you want to pay $5 a month, you get access to all of our video exclusives, and that includes some ghost hunting videos that are pretty darn cool. We've had some interesting EVP captures in the short span that we've been doing this since we started the Patreon page, Mike. And it's all going to be growing. We add new content weekly. We'd love to see you guys there. Yeah. Mike, your final thoughts on the Nelly Butler hauntings. To me, it's utterly fascinating just on the fact that it is a mass sighting.
There's no doubt that it's utterly fascinating, and there's too many things that ring true with me that make it a very legitimate issue. it's something that has stood the test of time.
Yeah, it
for
has.
Storytelling and getting the facts out there and keeping the facts in line from when they happen. And then we can talk about these things now after so many decades and 200 years, and it's still
that's the thing,
fascinating, and still a lot of questions that need to be answered.
So would you say you're a believer, Mike, and when it comes to the idea, just try and picture this in your head, the idea of a group of people, minimum 30 people, listening to a floating specter essentially speak to them and tell them this is the way, essentially. I'm not, no copyright infringement there to The Mandalorian.
Yes.
But it's like, listen to me, this is real. Mass sightings, mass interactions with a ghost. Would you go out so far as to say that you just simply believe it?
I do, because as big of a thing as this is for so many centuries, the fact of spectral beings and hauntings and ghosts, this has to be one of those things that you have to take with enough seriousness, because it feels right. I mean, it's like I said before, it stands the test of time of telling the story and staying believable. And why would it not be?
Yeah, man, it's a tough one for me. I mean, I am open-minded to it being a legit possibility. I really am. And as I mentioned earlier, I struggle with the notion of a mass lie. People gathering together just to make up a bunch of bullshit.
For what reason?
For nothing, right?
Yeah.
That's what gets me.
Is it like foreplay before their orgy or what? I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, on that note, well, hold on, everybody. Thanks, Mike. That's been a fascinating conversation. Well, hopefully fascinating for our listeners. Fascinating topic for sure. Maybe intriguing conversation for our listeners.
That was intriguing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to come back with our one last take. Yeah, we're going to dive into our thoughts on the infamous alleged alien autopsy video. I can't wait to hear Mike's thoughts on this. I kind of know where he's going to go with it, but it's always good to get it on tape. on tape. Yeah, man, I'm an 80s kid right there. Get it on tape. All right, hold on, boys and girls. We shall be all right. Back. All right, we have returned after yet another successful time-traveling excursion. Mike, I had a good time talking about the Nelly Butler hauntings. That's an utterly fascinating topic. Loved it.
Nelly Butler.
Now, one last take, Mike. It's time for one last take. I need to get like some music intro for our one last take.
I've been missing that for the last few years, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could whip out the really old, loud, obnoxious stuff, Exactly. 5 minutes alone and all that. I miss 5 minutes alone. I am trying to get Bridget to appear on this show every now and then again, because that segment was created for her, her 5-minute rants. And, I get the Pantera music, got the Pantera music blasting for that one, for the intro. And like you said, Bridget was very good at ranting for 5 minutes about whatever thing was pissing her off at that moment. So, I think I can entice her to get back in here every now and then.
That would be good.
All right, Mike, let's just dive into it. Alien autopsy video, one last take. What was this, 1990? Let me get some facts here. I want to make sure I'm not pulling shite out of my ass incorrectly. 1995, 17-minute black and white film supposedly depicting a secret medical examination / autopsy of an alien by the United States government. Released in 1995 by London-based entrepreneur Ray Santilli. And, of course, he presented it as an authentic video.
Yeah.
And it was a video depicting the body of an alien recovered from the 1947 crash of a flying disc near Roswell, New Mexico. The film footage was allegedly supplied to him by a retired military cameraman who wished to remain anonymous. Now, before we get into some of the admissions that Mr. Santilli has made about the film, what are your first memories of this film, Mike? When this was initially proposed and thrown out there as supposedly legit, were you excited about it, or were you suspicious from the get-go?
Well, I had no suspicions because I was actually there when it was filmed.
Oh, you were.
Were
you the alien?
Know that it was an actual real event. It actually happened.
Okay, I did not know that. That's
I did not know that.
Breaking news on the Paranomally Zone. Mike was part of the alien autopsy film.
Yeah, long before I was born.
Wow, interesting. So, okay, all right. Well,
but anyway, no, actually, I believe that the alien autopsy actually did happen. It did happen.
Right.
But any film footage, any documentation that we have seen over the years of this alien autopsy, I think is not legitimate. It's not real.
So any documentation. So you're saying the coverage. So you're saying the coverage of this alleged incident has tampered a legit occurrence, or I should say, has tampered the appearance of this legit occurrence and making it as such that people believe it to be a hoax. So you're saying the coverage has manipulated this,
right?
Or am I putting too many words in your mouth?
Right. I think it actually happened. It's just the footage that's been filmed has been it's been faked. It's been
the footage itself has been
footage
doctored.
Itself has been fake,
okay.
But the occurrence itself is real. It actually, I believe it actually did happen.
Okay.
The most famous film footage, the documentary of the autopsy being done, you hear stories of it being what it actually was a female with Down syndrome that was being autopsied, not an alien, which is a horrifying,
well, that's
thought.
The horrifying thought. And was it not also a female with Mike, I can't pull the medical ailment where the heads are enlarged. I can't pull that.
Hydrocephaly or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, something like that. Well, we should make sure we get that correct. I've heard the same thing, Mike.
Right.
I want to make sure I got that one. Hydro. I'm typing it in, boys and girls. Syphilis.
And if that is something that did happen, where
hydrocephalus. Yep.
Whoever was putting this film together to as a real thing, and they used the body of an innocent person
that's atrocious
with Down syndrome, I condemn every one of those people
absolutely
that perpetrated this whole thing.
Yeah, they can burn in hell. You can say it, Mike.
It's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they showed like the black lenses being taken out of the eyes and everything was very intriguing, but I don't know. I think they manipulated it in a way that that the best they could to get across their point and to pass it off as real, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that believe that it is real, but in my, to me, it's faked film footage for something that actually did happen. And there's probably film footage of the actual autopsy of a real alien, but it's never been seen. It's been buried so deep that we'll never see it.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere along the line, people have made up and faked film footage of this actual occurrence, and that's all we've seen is something that's been made up.
Now, that's very interesting, Mike, that you said that, because in 2006, Santilli admitted that the film was not authentic. Okay? But, and it's a big but, I cannot lie. It was rather a staged reconstruction of footage that Santilli claimed to have viewed in 1992, but that same footage had deteriorated to such a point that it was unusable by the time that he had made that film. He claims that a few frames from the original were actually embedded into this Autopsy video that was released. But, another big but, those frames were never specified. One question is like, well, which frames are legit and which ones did you build and act and fake around the entire thing? It's a classic example, Mike, of just giving you just a tiny bit enough to keep the legend / mystery going. You know,
absolutely. And that's a huge thing with all of this stuff. I mean,
of course. Now, just to clarify again and make sure that we're all on the same page, 2006, before the release of the film, there was another release here called Eamon Investigates, and it's by a man named Eamon Holmes. Eamon Investigates Alien Autopsy. Now, in his program, Ray Santilli and fellow producer Gary Schofield admitted that their film was actually a reconstruction containing only, in their words, a few frames, yep, I said that already, of the original film that they had claimed to have viewed in 1992. In the same documentary, Mr. Holmes repeatedly refers to the film as a fake, while Santilli patiently insists it is a quote-unquote restoration, maintaining it's a reconstruction of the actual alien autopsy footage he was shown. I guess I'm kind of repeating stuff. Yeah, supposed alien artifacts are seen in the footage itself, yada, yada, yada. I'm wasting everybody's time, not saying anything new. But I want to go on a personal level here, Mike. Finish out the show on this one.
Okay.
You've already kind of said that you believe it to be fake, but it's based upon legit happenings.
Yeah, it was absolutely.
And Ray Santilli says it's exactly that. He says it's a reconstruction. He says it's a fake film.
And I did not know that beforehand.
I know, that's amazing that you said that. I thought that was pretty darn cool, because that's exactly what Ray Santilli claims it to be. It's a reconstructed film with however many legit frames inserted into this fake. Again, quote unquote, fake. I said frake because I thought of the program Jonathan Frakes, who hosted the the reveal of this video back in the day. What channel was it, Mike? It was a big deal because that channel was like the first one that started showing all these cool alien programs and ghostly stuff back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I can't pull the channel. I can't pull a lot of things tonight, Mike, but Jonathan Frakes. How about, Mike's having a stroke or something. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I hope are you okay, Mike? Oh my Lord, he looks like he's in pain.
Coughing attack.
Yeah, another coughing attack.
And my German Shepherd is chewing on my hand.
Oh, yeah, he wants to take care of you, Mike. He wants to take care of you. Well,
she's doing it very gently.
Super lame joke. Jonathan Frakes. It's another coworker of mine told me this. It's a dad joke type stuff back in the day. He's like, oh, so if Jonathan Frakes gets cold, is he Frosted Frakes? I was like, come on, dude, really? Frosted Frakes. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
But
good.
I personally remember, Mike, being excited when this film came out because I to my untrained eyes and my intrigued eyes, I was like, man, this looks potentially legit. I mean, I was excited to watch this footage. And when it came out, I was like, wow, that is fantastic looking. I'm not saying I bought it 100%, but I was open-minded to it back then. Nowadays I'm like, yeah, obviously it's fake with maybe a few frames of reality sliced in there. And I wanted to know your thoughts when it was first released to the public. And I can't imagine that you were all in on it, but I won't speak for you. What are your memories of that when it first became public, or like released nationally?
As far as the legitimacy of the film itself,
yeah.
But but I've always had that thought of I know this has happened. I know that there has been autopsies done.
Okay,
but we aren't going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't going to see the footage. I mean, it takes a lot to leak something like that that's buried so deep.
Can I? I just had another damn thought, Mike. I am sorry. I am very, very sorry. I do this. I'm very good at it. Let's slice in our thoughts, our one last take with this on the supposed alien interview footage, Mike.
I was just thinking about that before.
Oh, great.
We got to this part here right now.
So what were you thinking?
The alien interview thing, I have more belief in that than I do with the alien autopsy.
Oh, you do?
There is a couple of them that you can see. There's a couple of different versions of that alien interview, and one of them, people think that, well, it looks very much like a puppet that's being manipulated, and which I can see that, but down deep, when I have seen, I think there's two different ones that I've seen. To me, I watch them and I just get glued to it.
No, it's utterly fascinating and intriguing to watch.
Yeah.
And the message that this supposed alien is
they're
sending,
us from the future.
Yeah, that's the part that
basically
that's the part that gets me the most. That I'm most
and that's something that I have thoughts interested of anyway.
Oh, of course,
and
sure.
then to hear that.
So I mean, I don't know where I sit on the alien interview footage because, like you, Mike, I'm glued when I watch it because I allow myself to kind of sink into the possibility that it is legit. People have already claimed that it is a hoax. I mean, that's not new news. That's not new news.
Right. Everything can be claimed as a hoax, or everything can be claimed as legitimate.
Sure. And
you have to pick and choose. And
I can't remember the guy's name, but one particular person has claimed to be behind it. Was
Danny Kaye.
Was it Danny Kaye? Damn it, Danny Kaye. Has claimed to be behind it. He said he created it on his computer just for fun. That's what he said. I can't remember the guy's name, but I don't know. I enjoy watching it. I love the message. I love the idea. Do I believe it? No, I can't. Do I believe alien autopsy? No. But like you, Mike, I am very open-minded to the idea that has happened and it was filmed. Where is the authentic film? Who the hell knows?
Buried.
It's buried. It's deteriorated. It's gone. It's
buried
quite
next to the Ark of the Covenant in that great big warehouse.
It's similar. It's similar to the Patterson footage in the fact that even though I believe the Patterson footage is almost 100% as opposed to this, where I don't really at all, but it's so well done. It is so well done. And it looks, it just looks great. It really does.
It does.
But that's, 30 years past the Patterson film where it's like, well, how the hell could they have pulled that suit off back in the day? I mean, my gosh.
Right.
Hey, that's another one last take thing right there, Mike, the Patterson footage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, long story short, let's wrap up the show. One last take. Unfortunately, sadly, and not like it's breaking news, alien autopsy, alien interview footage for me, Mike, faked. How about you?
The film footage that up to this day date have seen are faked, are
Right.
misinformation,
Yep.
are not what they are purported to be. But did it happen? Yes.
And another thing that's irritating about it, just for the fact that footage like this, films like this, gain so much momentum and get so much attention, and then everyone realizes that it's faked. So guess what? Therefore, everything else is faked. Yep. And that is so maddening. It's so maddening.
Yeah. Well, and that just goes to show how many closed-minded people there are.
The same thing with, great point. The same thing with, and I'm repeating myself to longtime listeners, the same thing with news stories that report their ding, ding, ding. You know, the bulbous masses of, sea monster bodies washing up ashore. What is this? Is this a prehistoric beast? And it's like, my gosh, it's a whale. It's a dead, rotted whale. It always is.
With flesh hanging off of it.
But yet shit like that manages to get on the news all the time, and it just adds to it. It adds to my frustration. It adds to the cynics, the skeptics. It adds to their arguments and say, "See, we told you, you dummies." It's like, no, I'm not believing that. But any hoozle. Well, Mike, this has been. I just hit that very hard. I'm sorry, my microphone shook. I get frustrated when I think about this stuff. Arg. Well, Mike, I've had a good time tonight, my friend. Should we do?
Yeah, me too.
We need to cut this down short so we can get a damn Patreon episode in. Let's do this, my friend.
Yeah, I got pizza rolls waiting to make.
Oh, let's do it. Well, we got a spirit box session and some cool collectibles show and tell. It won't be a long video, but it will be fun. We'll get it out there soon. Yes, tomorrow at the latest. Sure. Mike, this has been a blast. I can't thank you enough, buddy. I know you're feeling under the weather, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, but this is worth it.
Oh, thank you, my friend. All right, well, until next time, boys and girls, again, check out our Patreon page. Spread the word that we are now Paranomally Zone, no longer the Ultimate Podcast. It has ceased to be. It has gone on to join the Choir Invisible. Until next time, boys and girls, what do they all have to do, Mike?
Well, everybody, listen close and listen well. Dun, dun, dun. I have a message for every one of you. Ooh. And I want every one of you to peace out.
Sorry. Ow. Bye-bye.